Hello, my name is Eversgerd. I am a member of the MetroTex Forms and Contracts Committee.
Hello, my name is Scott Carnes. I'm with Perry Miller Real Estate, and I'm a member of the 2022 Forms and Contracts Committee.
Today we will be reviewing the addendum concerning the right to terminate due to lender's appraisal. This addendum allows for buyers to waive the right to terminate the contract if the property does not appraise at or above the contracted price. There are several factors to consider before using this addendum, with the most important being the financial position of the buyer. This form is only used in conjunction with the Third-Party Financing Addendum and cannot be used with FHA or VA financing. Let's talk about the options on the addendum concerning the right to terminate due to lender's appraisal.
Paragraph 1 is called the waiver. If this option is selected, the buyer is fully waiving the right to terminate the contract that is given to them in paragraph 2B of the Third-Party Financing Addendum. This means the buyer is agreeing to purchase the home no matter the appraised value, and it also means that the buyer may have to bring more money to the closing based on the appraised value. For example, let's say a home is under contract for $400,000 and the appraisal comes back at $350,000. The lender will only lend to the appraised amount, which in this case is $350,000. So in this case, the buyer is responsible for putting down $50,000 in order to close the transaction, no matter how much the contract originally stated they were putting down. In other words, this option is selected if your buyer intends to purchase the property no matter what the appraised value is.
Paragraph 2 is called the partial waiver. If this option is selected, the buyer 1 is waiving the right to terminate the contract if the property did not appraise for the full value of the contract, and 2, the opinion of value is above the value listed in this section. This section works much the same way as option 1, but allows for a minimum appraised value to be required. This also allows the buyer to ensure the property will appraise for a value that they are comfortable with and at a value that they can financially perform at. In other words, this option is selected if your buyer intends to purchase the property even if their offer is above list price, but only if the appraised value meets a certain value. This option is also selected if a buyer has limited additional funds to pay for the difference in the sales price and a lower appraised value of the property. For example, if the buyer only has additional $40,000 after accounting for all closing costs at the contracted price and wishes to utilize this form, the amount placed in paragraph 2.ii should be no lower than $40,000 less than the sales price on the contract.
Paragraph 3 is called the additional right to terminate. If this option is selected, the buyer has an additional right to terminate the contract within a specified number of days if the property does not appraise for the full value of the contract and is less than the amount specified in this section, essentially setting a time limit for the buyer to terminate the contract under this amendment. This option is most useful for buyers putting a large sum of money down on a property they want to protect themselves from an appraisal coming in too low. An example of this would be a buyer purchasing a home at $400,000 and putting down $100,000 of that amount. If they want protection from the appraisal coming in under the purchase price or too far below the purchase price, the dollar amount in this section would give your buyer the right to terminate if the appraisal came in below the specified amount.
When using this addendum, each transaction can be different and may have varying impacts for the sellers and the buyers. It is recommended that you think through the options chosen when using this addendum and discuss with your client what this means for them prior to having them sign the addendum.
If you have any additional questions about this addendum, please contact your manager or broker.